People that have never been through this can't judge me. They can't tell you the pain that I experience daily. When I decided to share Tyreek's story, it was for the benefit of his son.
This is a mother talking about the son she buried. And this is that same young man, months before, getting chased through his own quiet neighborhood by somebody who wanted him gone. Tyree Richardson lived both of those moments. But before we get into Tyree's story, let's start with this one. Because Tyree is not the only man in this video whose whole life came apart because of the person laying next to him. There are 3 men here, and they come from 3 completely different worlds. One is a football superstar who had money most people will never see. One was a young rapper with a food truck and a baby boy and a dream he was still building. And one is a Miami rapper who caught something on his own doorbell camera that ended up being watched by millions of strangers. Different men, different endings, but the same quiet thread runs through all 3 of these stories. And by the time we reach the last one, you are going to feel exactly what that thread is. So let's rewind and start with the biggest name of the bunch. If you follow football even a little bit, you already know the man they call the Cheetah. For a long stretch of years, Tyreek Hill was the fastest and most dangerous weapon in the entire league. The kind of player defenses had to plan their whole week around, and for 4 seasons he was the loud, flashy face of the Miami Dolphins offense.
I'm finna hit him with this. You good? It's a pylon, and then back across the field to the right.
He on the island now. Darrell Revis. No. Puma.
I'm used to this.
Then, on one ordinary Monday afternoon in February, all of that came to an end with a single announcement. Watch how the news broke, and pay attention to the fact that the people who cover this game for a living were not the least bit surprised.
Yeah, the Dolphins taking care of a lot of business today, including releasing Tyreek Hill, veteran wide receiver who missed most of last season with a significant knee injury.
On February 16, 2026, which happened to fall on President's Day, the Miami Dolphins released Tyreek Hill, and just like that, a man who had looked untouchable for the better part of a decade was suddenly without a team and without a home in Miami. To really feel how far that fall was, you first have to understand how high he had climbed to get there, because Hill did not come from anywhere easy. Tyreek Hill was born on March 1, 1994, in Pearson, Georgia, and he came up the long way, bouncing between 3 different colleges before he ever got a real look from the NFL. He went from Garden City Community College out in Kansas, over to Oklahoma State, and then to Little West, Alabama, and even after all of that, nobody was rushing to draft him. He finally got taken in the 5th round, 165th overall, by the Kansas City Chiefs in 2016, which in plain talk means team after team looked at him and passed before somebody finally took a small chance. That chip on his shoulder turned into one of the greatest careers a receiver has ever put together. Across 10 seasons split between Kansas City and Miami, Hill stacked up 8 Pro Bowls, 5 All-Pro selections, and more than 11,300 receiving yards, and he won himself a Super Bowl ring with the Chiefs along the way. When Kansas City shipped him to Miami back in 2022, they did it in a blockbuster trade that cost the Dolphins a first-round pick, and Miami turned right around and made him one of the highest-paid receivers in the sport. For a while, it looked like the smartest money they ever spent. In his first 2 seasons with the Dolphins, he put up back-to-back All-Pro years and cleared 1,700 receiving yards both times, hauling in 119 catches in each of those seasons. And the whole city started believing this was finally the piece that would carry them somewhere serious. He was fast, he was loud, he was the entire show, and Miami loved every second of it. Then the game did what the game always eventually does to everybody. His production dipped in 2024, and then the 2025 season turned into a full nightmare. In Week 4 against the New York Jets, on a short catch near the sideline, a Jets defender named Malachi Moore tackled him out of bounds, and Hill's left knee dislocated and his ACL tore, along with other ligaments as his leg twisted underneath him in a way that made grown men on the broadcast fall silent. They carted him off the field, took the cleat off his foot right there for stabilization, and rushed him to a hospital, and his entire season was finished after only 4 games. For a player whose whole game is built on top-end speed, an injury like that is not just painful, it is a giant question mark hanging over everything that comes after it. Here is where a sad injury turns into a cold business decision, and this is the part that tells you how the league really works. The money problem was sitting there for everyone in the building to see, and the reporters who cover this team had been saying for weeks that this day was coming no matter what happened with his recovery, and the math behind it was brutal.
Receiver Tyreek Hill was always going to be cut by the Miami Dolphins this year. $35 million in salary, none of it's guaranteed, $5 million roster bonus due on the 3rd day of the league year. He was going to be cut even without the serious knee injury he suffered on September 29 in the Monday night game against the Jets, even without the firing of GM Chris Greer, the firing of Coach Mike McDaniel. This was going to happen. If he had remained healthy last year, he likely would have been traded before the deadline to one of the contending teams that would have gotten a boost from Hill's arrival.
Hill was due around $36 million in salary and bonuses for the coming year, and $16 million of that would have locked in as guaranteed money if he was still on the roster on March 14th. So Miami moved before that date could hit. By cutting him when they did, the Dolphins saved themselves roughly $23 million, while still eating about $28 million in what the league calls dead money, which is money you owe a player who is not even on your team anymore. And Hill was not the only one shown the door. This all came under a brand new front office, with a new general manager and a new head coach who had just taken over a franchise coming off a 7-10 season and a 2nd straight year missing the playoffs. They let go of pass rusher Bradley Chubb, guard James Daniels, and receiver Nick Westbrook-Ikhine on the very same day, a full house cleaning that people around the team started calling a fire sale. And altogether, those moves pushed Miami from about $17 million over the salary cap to roughly $13 million under it. The two men now running the show, a new general manager and a new head coach who both came over from the Green Bay Packers, made no secret of the fact that they wanted to build through the draft and through young talent instead of through expensive stars. And Hill, with his giant contract and his rough recovery, was basically the poster child for the old way of doing things they were trying to walk away from. Cutting him was not only about the money, it was about sending a message that this was a brand new era in Miami, and there was no room in it for the past, no matter how bright that past used to shine on Sundays. One of the analysts breaking it all down said the quiet part out loud, and it might be the truest thing anybody said all day about how this sport treats even its biggest stars. That right there is the whole thing. A man can give a franchise all-pro years, packed stadiums, and literally a piece of his own body, and the moment his knee gives out and his contract gets heavy at the same time, he becomes nothing more than a line on a spreadsheet. Hill did not lose his job because anybody suddenly forgot he was great. He lost it because he got hurt and got expensive in the same breath. And in this business, that combination is close to a death sentence, no matter whose name is on the jersey. Losing the job was only half of Tyreek Hill's story, though, and if we are being straight with each other, the release might not even be the messiest part, because while the football world was busy talking about cap space and landing spots, there was a whole separate conversation happening about the man himself, and it is one that any team thinking about signing him is going to have to sit with for a long time. For all his greatness on the field, Hill has carried a long trail of off-field trouble that stretches all the way back to his college days. Back at Oklahoma State in 2014, he pleaded guilty to domestic assault and battery by strangulation against his girlfriend, who was pregnant at the time, and it got him kicked off the team and put on probation, a case that was later wiped from his record. Then, in 2019, while he was with the Chiefs, he was investigated over a claim of child abuse involving his young son, which led to a short team suspension but ended without charges. Over the years that followed, more incidents kept popping up, including a lawsuit from a model who said he broke her leg during a workout drill, a run-in at a marina that got settled quietly, and a tense stop by police outside the stadium before a game.
Get out! Get out! Get out! Get out! Get out! Damn! What part of blood are you doing this now? Hey, Drew, I'm getting arrested, dude. I'm getting arrested, Drew. I'm getting out, bro. God damn, twin. When we tell you to do something, you do it. You understand? You understand?
And through every single one of them, Hill has denied doing anything wrong. The most recent chapter is the heaviest, and it landed right before all of this went down. In September of 2025, his estranged wife, Keita Vaccaro, filed court papers accusing him of 8 separate instances of domestic violence during their short marriage. And this is where we have to slow down and be fair.
Court documents just released this afternoon reveal new allegations against Dolphins receiver Tyreek Hill. His wife claims the football star abused her 8 times. The allegations stem from a divorce filing Keita Vaccaro Hill filed 23 pages worth last month. Today, a judge unsealed its contents after CBS News Miami asked for its release.
Tua backing up, Tua to the end zone, caught, touchdown, Tyreek Hill.
Before his injury, Tyreek Hill was the most explosive player in the NFL. But in an amended divorce petition, his estranged wife says his explosive personality led to violent and abusive outbursts. Keita Vaccaro Hill claims it began when she refused to sign a postnuptial agreement and continued to escalate. In the legal filing, her lawyer alleges that Hill repeatedly committed acts of physical violence, spitting in plaintiff's face, throwing plaintiff to the ground, ripping her hair, and restraining her against her will, including while she was pregnant with their child. Hill's wife says he filed for divorce in January of 2024, just 14 months after they were married. They remained a couple, but according to her divorce petition, his physical abuse got worse. In one incident, she says Hill, quote, violently attacked her, throwing her to the floor. And in another episode, the divorce petition claims that Hill shoved a marijuana cigarette in plaintiff's face. It goes on to describe Hill's conduct as extreme, outrageous, and beyond all bounds of decency.
No charges have been filed over them, and Hill has denied them, which means nothing there has been proven in front of a judge or a jury, and it still has to be fought out if it ever gets that far. But the pattern of claims is out in the open now, and it becomes part of the picture any front office weighs before they hand this man a check. Here is why all of that matters for what happens next. When a player with Hill's kind of talent hits the open market, the phones usually ring non-stop. But Hill is not just coming off a bad knee, he is coming off years of stories that make teams nervous. And even the guys breaking down his future on television kept circling right back to that hesitation.
Some breaking, developing news happening right now on this Monday afternoon.
We definitely do, out of the NFL, where the Dolphins are releasing wide receiver Tyreek Hill. That's per multiple reports. This is something that I think we all ultimately feared after he suffered that massive knee injury. The All-Pro wideout spent the past 4 seasons in Miami, having only played 4 games this year due to multiple torn ligaments in that knee. The Dolphins will save either $19 million or $23 million in cap space next season, depending on whether he's a pre or post-June 1st release. It's still unclear whether he will actually be ready to play the start of the 2026 season as he still recovers from that major knee surgery.
Still, talent is talent, and the speculation about where he might land kicked off the same morning he got cut. The Kansas City Chiefs immediately became the favorite for a reunion with Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback he already won a title with, and the guessing game started right away. It got personal too. Chiefs defensive tackle Chris Jones, one of Hill's old teammates, posted 2 simple words, "It's time," basically recruiting him back to Kansas City out in the open. Other names floated around were the Bills, the Ravens, the Chargers, and the Steelers. All teams that badly needed a deep threat and would gamble on one. There is even a wrinkle where his old Miami coach Mike McDaniel is now calling plays for the Chargers, which would be a strange little reunion of its own. But almost every deal being talked about is short and full of conditions. 1 or 2 years with the money tied to him actually getting healthy, because nobody wants to bet big on a receiver about to turn 32 with a rebuilt knee. And to really understand the health gamble, it helps to look at a man who walked a much harder version of this same road. Years back, quarterback Alex Smith suffered a horrific broken leg that turned into a life-threatening infection, and his recovery took him about 23 months and a long line of surgeries before he ever played again. Smith did the impossible and came back, even winning Comeback Player of the Year, but he retired soon after, and his story hangs over every conversation about serious leg injuries in this league. Hill's situation is not as gruesome as Smith's was, but the warning is the same, because doctors have described his knee as a real threat to the career of a man whose entire value is speed. His surgery came right after the injury, and there is talk of another procedure still needed on a second ligament, which is why some experts think he could be looking at a much longer road than his camp lets on. One former team doctor went as far as calling the injury career-threatening for a player who lives and dies by his speed, and the realistic picture is that even if a team signs him, he might have to open the season on a special list that lets him sit out the first several weeks while he keeps grinding through rehab. There is also a smarter angle to some of these fits than just needing a fast receiver. When the Ravens once wanted to nudge their own star quarterback towards signing a new deal, they brought in a big-name veteran wideout as a kind of sweetener to get it done, and some people think adding Hill could quietly serve that exact same purpose all over again. Others look at the Bills and remember how rough it went the last time they gambled on a high-maintenance star receiver, which is the kind of history that makes a front office think twice, even when the talent is impossible to ignore. Through all of it, though, Hill refused to sound like a man who was finished. Right after the release, he posted a long goodbye to Miami on Instagram and promised the Cheetah would be back, saying that this offseason, for the first time ever, he was all the way turned up and locked in. His agent, Drew Rosenhaus, kept that same optimistic drum going, telling reporters that the surgery went well, that there was no nerve damage and no blood flow problems, and that the goal is for Hill to be ready by the start of the season. Not everybody is buying it, and the truth is, nobody knows yet whether the fastest man in football will ever be that fast again. So that is our first man. He kept his money, he kept his career alive, and he walked away from the wreck with his name a little bruised, but his whole future still sitting right in front of him. He is the lucky one in this video, and you will understand exactly why once we get into the second story, because our second man did not get to walk away from anything at all. He was a young rapper from Maryland, chasing the same kind of shine Tyreek Hill already had, and the woman in his life sat right at the center of everything that went wrong. Tyree Tashawn Richardson went by the name FSO Gunk, and if you were from certain parts of Maryland, there is a real chance you caught his music before you ever saw his name in the news.
I'm walking and I'm smelling like that Zion on my odor. I done got older, heart done got colder. We ain't gonna never struggle cause a nigga motor.
He was born on April 26, 2002, and raised mostly in Glendale, Maryland. And by his late teens, he was already doing a whole lot more than just rapping. He ran a food truck called Da Spot 301. He bred dogs as a side hustle.
What's up, shitty? Hey, I'm coolin', man. What you out here for? The snap. Last yeah, stop playing. That's hot, boy. Man. What it make you do? Hey.
Gonna be finger licking good.
Finger licking good, oh.
Tell him we got that new.
It's that brand new. Brand spanking new. Give me a month or two, man. This motherfucker gonna be up and running. I want y'all to support. Man, black businesses need to support each other a little more. In the community, we're gonna be all over PG. I just want to inspire the youth and do something a little different for the community. But we'll be serving everything, breakfast, lunch, dinner, everything, man. I just want, it's an experience for me, so, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna get it done. It's the spot, 2021. Going on. Pull up good drinks, alcohol for the little thotties.
For the little thotties, some party.
It's all motivational use purpose though only. That's all it is.
He went hunting with his father, and most importantly, he was raising a baby boy named Cody. The people who loved him describe a bright, funny, ambitious young man who pulled people toward him, the kind of kid family members called a ray of light, someone who was quietly building something real out of very little. He hunted with his father and his cousin. He poured himself into that food truck and his dog breeding on the side. And just about everyone who talks about him lands on the same word: ambitious. A young man who wanted to leave something behind that was bigger than himself. That drive is a big part of why the people around him believed in him. He was not just a kid with a microphone and a dream. He was running a real little business, feeding his neighborhood out of that truck, and putting money aside for his son's future, all while he was barely out of his teens. When his family talks about the potential that got stolen from them that night, this is exactly what they mean. A young man who was already doing the work and already showing everybody around him that he was dead serious about making it out the right way. His music lived online under the name FSO Gunk, with tracks like This Ain't a Regular Soda and Losses that pulled straight from his own life, his own struggles, and his own losses.
Mixing it over, pour juice in my soda, poured up in a Rover, this ain't a regular soda. I'm mixing it over. Pulled up in a rover. She drippin', she soaking. Find a hit and we flowin'. Smoke OG is potent. Smoke OG is potent. This ain't a regular cookie. Surrounded by bitches and twists. Used to hate, now they try bug me. I'm a vet, you a rookie. Smoke OG with the cookie. That's a dog. I swear I can't break her heart. I swear I can't break her heart. I swear I can't break her heart. I swear my little mama, she perfect. Go through anything with her, she worth it. When I get rich, I'ma buy her some purses. When I get rich, I'ma buy her some purses. It's FSO. This ain't a regular soda. I'm mixing it over. Pulled up in a rover. She drippin', she soaking. Find a hit and we flowin'. Smoke OG's potent. I'm mixing it over. Pour deuce in my soda. Pulled up in a rover. This ain't a regular soda. I'm mixing it over. Pulled up in a rover. She drippin', she soaking.
He never blew all the way up to millions of views, and it would be dishonest to call him a household name, but he had a real local following, and his people believed with their whole chest that he was on his way to something bigger. After he died, his family lined up 31 unreleased songs to put out for their son's benefit, which tells you he still had a whole lot left in the tank that the world never got to hear. His mother still speaks about him with a fire only a grieving parent carries.
One thing about him, he ain't play about me. Y'all can say what y'all want to say. He will go to the war about his mother. For whatever reason that took him to that place that night, I don't know. I wasn't there. I'm not in his mind. I can only go on what preceded him and what I learned after the fact. And what we learned after the fact through his messages, through all of his attempts, he didn't go to that residence by no accounts expecting what he expected.
At the very center of Tyree's life was a young woman named Autumn Anderson, the mother of his son. Their relationship started back around 2016 when they were both just 14, and it grew into something serious by around 2018, but it was never a smooth ride. And at one point during a breakup, Anderson had briefly dated another man before circling back to Tyree.
You can go right out the door. That's what you don't understand is I don't want to work it out. In order to work it out, no wait. Wait, let me finish.
I know you don't want to. I already understand you don't want to work it out, and I know why. Because it takes me this long to try to put it together.
I'm not done
but
talking.
That's not the way I want to go.
You just cut me off. So can I talk?
Yes.
In order to work something out, both people have to want it.
Yes.
And I don't.
I'm just asking.
So I'm telling you how this is gonna go.
I just don't think we should be like this, babe. You're trying to run the show, and I just think you should just give me an opportunity to fix our relationship. Like, I'm so down on this shit. I'm so mentally broken. I really want to fix my own, bro.
You're so mentally broken.
Babe, I've been through a lot of shit. You've been through a lot too. I'm not knocking that, bro. I'm not knocking that. At the end of the day, you went through shit when it was most trauma and you were having a baby. I was a terrible boyfriend. I was never there. I was absent. I wanted to smoke J's more than worrying about my family and making sure y'all straight. I was worried about getting high, stimulation around marriage and shit like that. I'm not worried about that shit no more. I honestly have a clear head. I honestly think about putting my family in. I'm honestly thinking about still being able to stand. So if emergencies come, if you crash your car, shit happen, I'll be able to put us back on our feet like that. That's man shit. I don't want to lose you, bro. Like, I'm not even gonna think about losing you because that shit is hard for me to endure, bro. Definitely the day before Christmas, like I keep telling you. Never had a Christmas with you, bro. Just wanna try to spend time with you, at least try to enjoy my life with you while I can. I already had one life. We already had a kid. We already started a family. Let's get this shit right while we can, before it's too late. It's not too late, baby, because we're right here talking. It's not too late. We're right here talking. It's not too late. We're still there together. It's not too late. It's not
You
too
know I'm
late.
still here?
What?
Because I work here.
Okay, and I'm asking you to just love me
I feel bad
again.
for Boo that he has to get
I'm just
used to
asking you to love me again,
So,
babe. I'm just
the
asking
car
you to love me again, babe.
is
I'm asking you to,
convenient.
please. I'm just asking you to love me again. I'm just
My
asking
son's
you to.
stuff is here.
I'm just
And
asking you.
until I'm able to,
You're not moving. I don't want you to leave. I don't want you to do all that. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I want you to just see positivity out of this situation.
it's no positivity.
It is positivity. You're making it negative. If I'm telling you, it's still positive.
I
If
just
I'm
bust your
telling you,
head open.
babe,
I
and
just bust your
I'm
eye
fine.
open.
I'm still seeing positivity. Okay, I'm still seeing positivity. You're the one who's painting a negative on the situation. Like, you not understanding. You
Situation
laughing at
itself
me, bro.
is negative.
It's
I
not,
can't
because I'm
paint
right
negative
here.
on negative.
I'm
It's
trying to
already
work this shit
negative.
out. I'm right here trying to work this shit out. I'm right here trying to.
You trying to
fucking-
work this out. And a week
Yes.
ago, you punched me in my face.
And I've done that.
Dragged
And
me
I've
off the
told you
bed,
that. I've done
got
that.
on
I've
top
done
of
that.
me and choked me.
Babe, but you gotta understand, I'm out of town for 4 days. I'll come back home. And
You come back
everything that I
home.
have is just fucking.
With bitches' numbers in your phone. You're on the
You're
phone
right,
with
I
bitches
did.
while I'm in the
You're
kitchen.
right.
You're in the living room.
I was not on the phone with no bitch while you was in the kitchen and I was in the living room.
You didn't know
I swear
was
to
in the
God.
kitchen.
I swear to God, I wasn't
heard
on the
it.
phone with no in the living room while you was in the kitchen. I would never do no shit like that.
You
I wouldn't even call no bitch in my house with you right here. That's so disrespectful. You might have thought I was on the phone with her. I wasn't.
Okay. Well, besides.
I wasn't on the phone with a bitch. I'm telling you, I wasn't on the phone with a bitch in the room with you right here. I wouldn't even do that. Like
Maybe
that.
I just misheard. But
Maybe you misheard. Like I said, I wouldn't do no shit like that. Like, that's beyond disrespectful. I would be super mad you did some shit like that to me.
They moved in together around 2020. They welcomed little Cody in early 2021. And even when things were falling apart between them, Tyree kept showing up as a provider. Court records and family accounts say he put a roof over Anderson's head, and the two of them shared custody of their son, passing him back and forth every few days, trying to make a broken thing work for the baby's sake. If you lay their history all the way out, you can see how tangled it already was long before Yancey ever mattered. They first met as young teenagers, they started dating a couple of years later, they split for a stretch, and came back together. And for a while, it looked like nothing more than two young people trying to co-parent through a rocky romance. But underneath all of that, the resentment kept building, especially between Anderson and Tyree's side of the family, and that quiet bad blood never really went anywhere. Then a third person walked into the picture, and everything tightened up. The man Anderson had dated during that earlier split, Terrence Kenneth Yancey, came back around, a 22-year-old out of Washington, D.C., who already had a history of gun charges, and just like that, a fragile situation turned into a full love triangle with a small child caught right in the middle of it. There was also real bad blood building between Anderson and Tyree's family, to the point where by early 2022, his family had cut off contact, hurt by things like their grandson being taught to say disrespectful things about them. Tyree finally moved out for good in early June of 2022, after he learned Anderson was still communicating with Yancey. And he left a lot of himself behind in that house, belongings and furniture and all the life they had built, agreeing to keep sharing custody even after he walked away. But moving out did not cut the cord. He stayed tied to Anderson through their son, no matter how far he tried to step back, and the friction with his family only got worse in the background. His people describe being pushed all the way out, hurt by things like their own grandson being coached to say ugly things about them, until the contact went almost completely cold. So by the time the worst night came, you had a young man who had physically left the relationship but was still emotionally and financially wrapped up in it, still driving back to that same address, still connected to a woman whose new man did not want him anywhere near the place. There is one more thing eating at Tyree in those final months that makes this whole story sit even heavier. On April 27, 2022, which was his own birthday, somebody tried to kill him outside his Crofton home, and the entire thing got caught on a Ring camera as he pulled up with Anderson and another passenger in the car. A friend who was right there described how fast and how real it got. This is the ambush he barely walked away from. He ran for his life that night, sprinting through a neighborhood so calm that people left their front doors unlocked, and his friend circled the block screaming his name out the window trying to find him. Tyree survived that first attempt, but it left him rattled and suspicious, convinced deep down that somebody close to him had set the whole thing up. He believed the ambush was connected to the same tangled situation with Anderson and Yancey, even though no court ever proved that link. What we know for certain is that a young man who already felt a target on his back kept getting pulled right back toward that house, back toward the woman he shared a child with, and back toward a bedroom where another man was now sleeping in his old spot. And that pull is what led him straight into the worst night of his life. On June 13, 2022, at around 3:30 in the morning, Tyree Richardson let himself into Anderson's home on Lakeside Court in Dunkirk, using a keypad code he already knew, a house he had lived in and paid for not long before. According to his family and the wider record of the case, he did not come there to hurt anybody. He walked up to the bedroom, the same bedroom that used to be his, except now Anderson was asleep in there next to Terrence Yancey. What happened next took only a matter of seconds. Yancey grabbed a handgun and fired 16 shots, emptying the whole magazine into the dark. Anderson woke up to the muzzle flashes, recognized Tyree's shape in the doorway, and screamed for Yancey to stop. But by then, Tyree was already going down. The forensic side of this case is where it turns truly ugly, because prosecutors later argued the shooting did not stop when any threat did. A crime scene technician named Kelsey Ward used trajectory rods and 3D laser scans and pointed to close-range shots at downward angles, along with blood on Tyree's sock that suggested he was already low to the ground when some of the rounds hit him, which painted a picture of a shooter who kept firing after a man was already falling or down. 20 years old, hit in the back, the head and the neck, and gone right there at the scene. Then came the part that still tears Tyree's family apart to this day. A frantic 911 call went out from inside that house, and what you hear on that recording is pure chaos. An operator trying to walk somebody through saving a life that could not be saved. This is a small piece of that call, and it is hard to sit with.
With him now? How old is he? Is he awake? Is he breathing? Okay, just to clarify, is he breathing? No, he's starting to die.
Deputies arrived and pronounced Tyree dead. Meanwhile, Yancey was already gone. He ran out of the house barefoot, dumped the gun in nearby woods, and disappeared into the dark, which kicked off a full manhunt. Police brought in helicopters and K-9 units and searched through the night. He hid in a backyard, then approached a neighbor with a story about a carjacking, but the neighbor turned him away after spotting a gun-shaped bulge in his hoodie, and he was finally arrested the very next day, on June 14th, at a gas station. Running off and ditching that weapon would later come back on him as its own separate charge for destroying evidence. There are details from that night that stick with you. He ran out barefoot in a pair of pink pajama pants that belonged to Anderson. He hid in somebody's backyard, and when he finally walked up to that neighbor with his made-up carjacking story, the man got a bad feeling from the gun-shaped bulge in his pocket and shut the door on him. The first deputy on the scene found Tyree's body wedged between the bed and the wall, surrounded by shell casings, which is a picture that never really leaves you once you hear it. The trial opened in Calvert County in April of 2023, and this is where the two sides of the story finally squared off in front of a jury. Yancey claimed self-defense, testifying that he woke up in a pitch-dark room, saw a shadowy figure raise a hand, and fired because he feared for himself and for Anderson. Prosecutors pushed back hard, laying out more than 300 pieces of evidence, including ballistics and expert forensic analysis, to argue that this was not simple fear, this was overkill. Anderson herself took the stand and testified that she woke to the gunfire, recognized Tyree, and yelled for it to stop, and that Yancey was a man who always kept a gun on him. The jury also heard about others in the home who were put in danger by all those rounds going off, including a child. In the end, the jury split the difference in a way that left almost nobody satisfied. On April 17, 2023, they found Yancey not guilty of first and second-degree murder, but guilty of voluntary manslaughter, 2 firearms violations, 4 counts of reckless endangerment, and 1 count of destroying evidence. That verdict means the jury believed he really was afraid at that moment, but that emptying 16 rounds went far past anything fear could justify. He had already turned down a plea deal before trial, betting everything on a full acquittal, and he lost that bet completely. On July 28, 2023, a judge sentenced him to 18 active years behind bars, with at least 9 of them to serve before he can even be considered for parole. The way that sentence broke down, he got 10 years on the manslaughter count with firearm and reckless endangerment time layered on top of it, and on paper the charges could have stacked up to far more than what he actually has to serve, which is a big part of why his family feels the way they feel. He appealed on several grounds, but in October of 2025, an appeals court upheld every one of the convictions and found no errors worth overturning anything. To Tyree's family, 18 years for 16 shots into their child is not justice, it is a slap on the wrist. They wake up every single day at 3:32 in the morning, the exact time he died, and they have spent years since keeping his name alive through his music, through tributes, and through a planned biopic. And his mother has made it very clear that in her heart, this is not finished. She talks like a woman who believes the full truth is still out there somewhere, and that whatever the court failed to deliver, life will eventually collect on its own terms. Listen to the warning she put out into the world.
What you thought you got away with today, you'll pay for it in another way, and it may not even be Tyree's. You cannot be out on the street, walking the streets, and living a foul life. I don't care what you say about me. I don't care what you do. I don't care.
She has even hinted that she is holding on to things the court never got to see, talking about material that landed in her hands after her son died, the kind of thing she believes will eventually catch up with everybody who had a hand in this. That is our second man. He was chasing the same dream as the first, working the same hustle from a smaller stage, and he never got the chance to make it out. He walked into a house that used to be his, and he never walked back out of it. And that brings us to the third and final man in this video, because after all of that heaviness, his story lands as a completely different kind of gut punch. Nobody died, nobody went to prison, but what he found waiting on the other side of his own front door still stopped millions of people cold, and it happened one tiny decision away from ending just like Tyree's. The last man goes by Bezzy, and around Miami, he calls himself the Prince of Rap. He is an independent rapper out of the Miami area who built his lane on Southern hip-hop with a storytelling edge, and he did it the grind way, dropping his own music and living on social media instead of waiting for a major label to come save him.
You getting all this money, it's gonna cause some pain. I pray my nigga never switch, he stay the same. I'm from the trenches, nigga, all we know is game. Get out of line, man, them hitters gon' bust your brain. Come to my city, bitch, you know you tapping there. My face talk good, bitch, you know I'm still a man. I do it for my niggas locked up in the pen. See when he coming home, he gon' do that shit again. It's murder on his mind, all he do is sin. No NBA, but he jumping out of gym. Beat a nigga ass and kick him with my Timbs. Shoot out with.
He came up rough in South Florida, moving through different neighborhoods before Miami Gardens took him in. And before he ever picked up a mic, he was a basketball kid who idolized Allen Iverson and dreamed of that path first. He started recording as a high school senior after a friend pushed him into the booth on a whim, and over the years he stacked up projects, including a flagship album called The Beehive, which he put out through his own BG Records in early 2023. He grew a real following of close to 150,000 on Instagram, mixed his music with skits and lifestyle clips, and even landed a spot on a reality dating series. The whole modern independent hustle rolled into one. He built his sound leaning on the storytellers he came up on, names like Tupac, Lil Boosie, and Kevin Gates, artists who turned their real lives into music. And he dedicated an early project to a late cousin he called Booby, which is where his whole Booby Gang branding comes from in the first place. So by the time all of this drama hit, his name was already floating around a little more than his streaming numbers alone would have told you. But Bezzy did not go viral for a song. He went viral for his love life. And to really understand why the internet reacted the way it did, you have to know about a post he made almost a year before any of the drama hit. Back in December of 2024, he put up a photo of himself and his woman with a long caption that read like a very strange love letter, listing out all the ways she had stayed loyal to him, no matter what he put her through. It was the kind of post that makes you tilt your head and read it twice. In the viral breakdown of the whole saga, somebody actually reads that old caption out loud, and it tells you everything you need to know about the dynamic these two had going. And it kept going from there, a whole long list of things he openly admitted doing, while praising her for never leaving his side. In that same post, he talked about leaving her overweight, and her getting surgery to win him back, about her handing him $20,000 from a loan, about getting caught with her own sister, and about marrying somebody else while telling her they could still date in private. He called her the true definition of a queen and compared her to Coretta Scott King and Vanessa Bryant. At the time, some people read it as oddly sweet, plenty of people read it as flat-out troubling, and a lot of folks just clowned the whole dynamic in the comments. But almost nobody could have guessed how ironic that post was about to look less than a year later, once the tables flipped all the way over. Because the thing that makes the whole saga land the way it does is the role reversal at the center of it. In that December post, he is the one who did the dirt, and she is the one who stayed loyal through all of it. In the story that made him famous, he flips it completely and casts himself as the loyal one who got betrayed, the man who gave everything and got paid for it. And the internet noticed that switch right away and never let it go. Fast forward to 2025, and the roles had completely switched. Now Wybezzy was the one playing the loyal provider, and by his own account, he was doing it big. He says he had bought his fiancée a 6-bedroom house and was paying all of the bills himself while he was out on the road doing shows, handling his role like a man, as he put it. Now, it is only right to be straight with you here, because every single piece of this story comes from Wybezzy's own mouth. There are no police reports, no court files, and no property records anybody has been able to pull up, just his videos and his captions. The other man is never named, and the fiancée never gets to give her side of anything. So what we are working with is one man telling his own version of events to the entire world. That does not automatically make him a liar, and the video itself is very real, but it is worth keeping in the back of your mind the whole time that we only ever hear one voice in this entire story, and that voice belongs to the man holding the camera and writing the caption. Still, the picture he painted was very easy for people to feel. Here was a man who said he flew home early to surprise the woman he was about to marry, a woman he says he set up in a 6-bedroom house, with every single bill covered, only to walk straight into the opposite of a warm welcome. Whether every last detail is airtight or not, that setup tapped into something a whole lot of people carry around. The fear of pouring everything you have into somebody and finding out it was never really about you at all. And that fear is a big reason the clip traveled as far and as fast as it did. And in his version, the warning signs were already flashing while he was away. He says she barely communicated with him during that stretch on the road, just short texts, missed calls, and low energy.
I was calling her phone and she like not communicate. You know how you know your partner, you know her, you like, damn, my girl, she always answer the phone.
Yeah.
So in the moment she don't answer the phone, something ain't right. You feel me? So I got a funny feeling in my gut, like, man, I don't know. I don't know what the got going on, you feel me? So
the kind of quiet that eats a person alive when they are far from home and cannot see what is really going on. He would say later that his gut was talking to him the whole time. Now watch him describe the exact moment he pulled up to his own house and felt in his body that something was wrong.
The reason why I knocked on the door, and that's my shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just ain't have my key at the time. So I had to knock on the door, and she came out the door. She walked out like, you don't supposed to be here. Like, the face that she looking like you don't supposed to be here. What are you doing here?
Sit with how strange that is for a second. This is a man coming home to a house he says he paid for, and his own fiancée opens the door and looks at him like he is the one who does not belong there. He had lost his key, or it stopped working, so he actually had to knock to get into his own place. And later, he would spin that little detail into a whole line about how sometimes losing a key helps you unlock the truth. He felt his gut screaming, and still had no real idea what was waiting for him behind that door.
I'm thinking in my head, like, what do you got going on? Like, something weird. My gut feeling like telling me, like, something ain't right.
He was right, and he was about to find out exactly how right. What happened over the next 90 seconds got caught clean on his own doorbell camera, played out silently for the entire internet, and turned this Miami rapper into the face of one of the calmest and strangest breakups anybody had ever watched on film. Here is what that Ring camera captured, in a silent clip about 90 seconds long, stamped June 7, 2025. Bezzy walks up and knocks on the door of his own home, wearing a tank top and a cap with his backpack still slung on his shoulder. His fiancée opens the door and freezes, clearly not expecting to see his face. And then, out of the house he says he bought and pays for, a tall man he never invited casually walks out behind her. Viewers who broke the clip down described the man as well over 6 feet tall, and the one detail that turned the whole internet into a comment section comedy show was his shorts, which people swore read the words cough syrup across them. That tiny thing became the joke of the week, with folks saying they would never even argue with a grown man wearing cough syrup shorts, because a man dressed like that clearly has nothing left to lose. That detail about the dogs is almost darkly funny. Bezzy says the man could not slip out the back door because there were dogs back there that would have torn him up, so the dude had no choice at all but to walk right out the front and face the man whose house he was in.
Couldn't get through the back because of the dogs. Dogs was in the back, so he couldn't run out the back. They would ate his ass alive, so he had to go through the front. You feel me? So he was like, fuck, I'm trapped. I'm in a tough situation, you feel me? I can't go to the back, the dog's in the back.
I gotta go through the front.
There's 10 dogs back there, bro.
And this is the exact moment where the whole story could have swung the way Tyree's story swung. A man comes home, finds another man walking out of his house and out of his relationship, and every single thing in that moment is pulling him toward rage. He even admits how dangerously close the trigger was, all because of where his gun happened to be sitting. Really sit with what he just told you. The gun was right there in the car.
My gun in the car, you feel me?
Yeah.
I ain't even get the bags out of the car yet, you feel me? Because I'm trying to go see what the going on as far as like, I didn't think nothing of it, so I ain't think to go grab my gun or whatever like that, bro. Because my crib, she in her head, she thinking I got the keys.
This is the exact razor's edge that Tyree's night fell on the wrong side of. The same kind of moment where one hot decision turns a man into either a headline or a body. But Bezzy did something that genuinely surprised everybody who watched it play out. He looked at her, said the words, "So this what we doin'," told her he was done, and turned and walked away calmly, with his backpack still on his shoulder. No yelling, no fighting, no shots fired. He just left. Then he sat on that footage for about 4 months before he ever posted it. When he finally shared it in October of 2025, he laid Keisha Cole's old song, "I Should Have Cheated," over the silent video, which flipped a raw security clip into something that felt almost like a scene from a movie. Big pages picked it up, and it spread to hundreds of thousands and then millions of views across Instagram, X, TikTok, and everywhere else, racking up tens of thousands of likes and thousands of comments within just a couple of days. One of the biggest reasons people latched onto it is that a lot of them did not even realize at first that the guy in the clip was a rapper at all. The reaction split right down the middle, and honestly, both sides had a real point. A huge chunk of people praised the way he handled it, calling it the calmest breakup ever caught on camera, and saying he moved like a real man by choosing his freedom over a prison cell. His own caption, telling people to move smart and not with their emotions, because not every situation needs a reaction, became a quote that folks passed around on its own. In a world where these stories almost always end with somebody dead or somebody locked up, watching a man simply turn around and walk away hit people as rare and mature, and a lot of viewers respected it deeply. But the other half of the internet could not stop laughing at the irony of it all, and they were not wrong to. Remember that December post where he bragged about all the times he cheated and she stayed anyway? Once this video dropped, that old post resurfaced everywhere, and people were quick to point out that the same man now crying betrayal had openly admitted to doing the exact same thing to her. Some folks felt like she simply got her lick back. Others turned the other man's outfit and the whole awkward energy of the clip into a running joke. The viral moment gave Bezzy a real bump in attention and got his music back in some people's ears, and he leaned all the way into it, posting afterward about healing, about growth, and about needing a full 2 years to himself before he even thinks about dating again. He mentioned that she later reached out crying and apologizing, while still, in his eyes, refusing to take real accountability. and no lawsuit ever came of the defamation threat he says she made. At one point, a commenter even claimed the man in the video was nothing but her cousin, a line that got passed around as either a defense or a punchline depending on who was typing it, though Wybezzy never really addressed it head-on. In the end, the whole thing stayed exactly what it started as, a private mess that turned into public entertainment for millions. So there they are, 3 men laid side by side. Tyreek Hill lost his job and took another hit to his name over a body that gave out and a marriage that fell apart. But he kept his money and his future, and he still gets to write another chapter of his own story. Tyree Richardson chased his dream from a smaller stage, loved a woman it was never smooth with, walked into a house that used to be his, and got shot 16 times by the man sleeping in his old bed, and all his family got in return was 18 years and a lifetime of waking up at 3:32 in the morning. And Wybezzy stood on the exact same cliff Tyree fell off of, with a gun sitting in the car and another man walking out of his house, and he chose in that second to turn around and live. The thread running through all 3 of them is simple once you finally see it. Every one of these men had his whole life bent out of shape by the person he trusted enough to lay down next to, and the only real difference between a man who walks away and a man who never comes home is the choice he makes in one hot second. Tyree never got the chance to make that choice for himself. Wybezzy did, and it is the only reason he is still here posting videos instead of sitting in a cell or a grave. That is the whole lesson, and it does not need any dressing up. Rest in peace to Tyree Richardson. If this video reminded you of somebody in your own life standing on that same edge, send it to them, because the walkaway is always the win. And one person hearing that in time is the only reason a story like this is worth telling at all.